When the author Clarice Lispector visited Egypt and was face to face with the Sphinx for the first time, she said, "I did not decipher her, but neither did she decipher me." And many years later, she had plans to go back to Egypt and face the Sphinx once more. And she famously said, "I'll see who devours whom." You have an author that is so mysterious, who, in my opinion, has tapped into the feminine world in a way that brinks on madness, facing the very emblem of that madness, of the unknown, which is the Sphinx. I personally ascribe to the ancient idea of femininity being associated with the unknown, the unseen, what is amorphous and liquid, boundless, chaotic. I've always been deeply fascinated by what women are. I am fascinated by men too, but with women it's mystery. And as a woman myself, how could I not be interested in the origin of my femininity, right? I've always wanted to understand or come into contact even for a second with this idea, this answer, this truth about what it is to be a woman and to be feminine. I feel more feminine than I ever have, and it's a quiet power. It's heavily internal. It's just a knowingness. But that knowingness is formidable, even if it's not acted upon. That passivity, that people associate with femininity. I want to share with you guys some of the practices that I've created, I guess, as a response to what I have learned. And I want to share those practices. I want to show you how what they taught me. I say habits that make me feel ultra feminine, but also inhuman. The reason why I say this is because embarking on this journey into understanding the full scope of femininity also leads you to its extremes, which are very alluring and awe-inspiring. But yeah, they also bring on madness. The divinity of femininity is a kind of madness. That this fluidity of femininity and the boundless and just pure existence, it's a world without distinction. And in that place, in that unknown, that unseen world, you can lose your identity. You can lose who you are, strangely. You lose, as Anais Nin said in her prose poem, House of Incest, you can lose the human power to fit body to body in human completeness. You can lose the knowledge of integration, of fusion. Femininity is extremely isolationist. It's hermetic. It's solipsistic. You are the only one in the world when you get there because of that isolation. But at the same time, you are also the dissipation of your identity, it's a losing of who you are. It's becoming one with everything else. It's both of those things. So with all this pride of being a woman, you find out there's more than just responsibility behind the power. There's a threat of losing your humanity, of losing your sanity, which is what makes it so compelling, I think. But I'm just saying to be careful. All right, I think that's enough of an introduction. So the first ultra feminine habit, I would say, is being discreet, careful and circumspect in your speech and your actions. This is about withholding. This is an isolationist. All of these are going to be isolationist tendencies and habits. I want to be strategic with how much I give of myself, how much I allow people to take from me. I want to control what people know about me. People today dubiously reveal so much of themselves and feel the need to contend with social propriety. And today the standard, it's the Wild West. You can do anything. I believe in keeping certain matters to yourself. And also, I don't believe that you have to always be social, ready to be social. Does that make sense? In my opinion, the conventions that surround us socially can be simultaneously invasive and also disingenuous. What I'm saying is I just don't always feel that I have to participate in that, in this sharing, That can come off, this is where the inhuman aspect comes in is that can come off as me being standoffish, and it often does, and antisocial, but I feel that it's more honest to be that way. I also learned from a very close friend of mine, very dear friend of mine, the importance of being secretive. Certain things do not have to be said at all. Certain things don't need to be shared. I know a large part of being feminine is like this empathy thing, that you need to be receptive and giving, and nurturing in these things. But like femininity is also reserving yourself, like keeping yourself hidden and mysterious. And one of the best ways to do this, best practices, I guess, would be to go on a trip and don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone why. If you got a request off of work, don't tell them the reason. Just say that you're going somewhere. Don't tell them where, don't tell them with who or why. Just do it for you. It doesn't need to be a thing that you share. You can be selective with what you choose to give people, whether or not that's your time, your energy, or information about you. And the reason is because when something leaves this sacred space, this sacred isolation, it tarnishes. When something is lost in translation, it degenerates from your mind to the next person, unless that they're a very sensitive person who gets you. Just passing on information from here into the outside world degenerates it. So some things, if they are special, a moment, an experience in your life, just keep it to yourself. It's possibly just better in that space. The second ultra-feminine thing, I would say, would be learning, acquiring wisdom. Definitely. And the reason why I say that is because in Gnostic Christianity, the female aspect of God is called the Sophia, which means wisdom. She's the spirit of wisdom. So femininity has been for a long time associated with knowledge and knowingness. In the Gnostic creation myth, the Sophia was born from the primordial female power Sige, which means silence. In solitude, in isolation, in silence, there is wisdom. It isn't just about learning, to gain anything. It's the love of learning. And wisdom comes from being able to find unity among the things that you learn. Nothing is separate, which is why I want to take a minute to talk about this video's sponsor, Skillshare. I have found that with all knowledge, there is a common thread. You can dedicate yourself to vastly different disciplines and still find similarities between them or find them compatible. That is the secret to the love of learning. The ability to see knowledge as something cohesive rather than atomistic makes learning anything, any new skill, pleasurable. And I think that Skillshare is an excellent platform. It's a melting pot for all different kinds of disciplines and for you to be able to find that common thread between them. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts across a broad repertoire. Ask yourself, how can learning about cinematography improve your writing skills? How does working with your hands, the process of crafting something, possibly give you insight into building your own personal brand? How can learning how to better edit my videos on YouTube lend perspective on the enjoyment of my art to my audience? I've tried to separate the two forever, but now I know there's something that I'm missing. Knowledge is not separatist. The principles that you learn from one skill can also be the key to mastering something else entirely and can give you an edge. I think about all of the creators that have merged disciplines in order to gain insight. How does Paula Scher use graphic design to create her famous typographical maps? How does a hematologist write an entire book on the complex history of the relationship between the sexes? It's no riddle. Nothing is really boring. All knowledge has a common thread. Two completely different things can somehow come together and unify. Anything that you decide to learn about, no matter how far away from your preference it is, has something in it for you. The first 500 people to use my link in the description or the QR code provided here will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. I ask that you challenge yourself to learn something new and to find cohesion in the world around you. I know it sounds weird, but like when I learn something new, I feel more feminine. I feel closer and yet further away from that knowingness. I also feel like pretty. Does that sound crazy? I feel like my molecules are rearranging or something. Maybe that's the dopamine I'm getting whenever I learn something new. I really feel it. It's euphoric, learning new things. I feel brain pretty. Whatever piece of knowledge, I am like one with that knowledge, and nothing else, everything else fades away for a second. Time stops. Nothing else exists. But the more aware I get over time, this is where we come into the domain of the inhuman. The more you know, the scarier the world gets. The more knowledge you acquire, the more that you're able to understand things, the closer you are to a kind of terror. It's that very familiar place that we've always been forewarned about from our favorite artists and scientists. And once you get to a certain level of knowingness, of consciousness, you start to go a little crazy. You have to be able to come back down. That's what I mean by femininity coming close to madness, the irrationality of madness, of coming so close to all of this knowledge and divine understanding and all that. When you stay in that area, that's the madman. That's insanity. You have to be able to come back into the real world. And that's like something I've been trying to learn, or I'm starting to understand a little bit better now, is that you can't live in that world forever. As much as you'd want to, the balance is there just so you don't completely go off of the rails. And sometimes I feel just a little bit too close to going off the rails. I'm the anxious type, so the forbidden fabric of life, to use Clarissa's words yet again, it does feel forbidden, and it does feel like your human body, your human brain, you do not have the capacity, you can't take it. It feels like too much. So don't get stuck over there. You have to be like the mystic. You got to be able to go towards that madness of knowingness and understanding, of knowledge, wisdom, but you also have to have the strength to come back. That whole thing is just that whole idea of that. The pilgrimage inside into madness and then back out. God, that's fascinating to me. It's alluring, but it's scary. But that's some feminine shit right there. That madness is femininity for sure. Another ultra-feminine habit would be silence. Practicing silence. Being in silence is a type of meditation. You don't have to sit in lotus pose and like hum a mantra to yourself, okay, in order to meditate. You can just go like I have, like so many of us have. Some people are meditating and they don't even like know it. I go into a park and I lay on a park bench and I just look up at the canopies of the trees or just stare out and not think about anything even. And it's really what you're doing there when you're not thinking, when you've surpassed that, it's just existing. And to exist is to not impose who you are yourself, nothing on anything. This is the opposite side, right? There's the isolationist side, and then there's the side of not being at all. The isolationist side is like pure being, is solitude, is like selfishness, egoism, right? You're the only thing that exists. And then the other side is not existing at all, or just being, just observing. The practice of silence is letting things come to you. It's what is called passive in femininity. Listening is also not just observing and hearing the things around you, but it's also listening to yourself, waiting for that inner voice of intuition and some kind of other thing guiding you, not you imposing yourself on the world. Intuition is a crazy thing, but it takes silence. Being able to understand what you should do, what the next move is, whether something is right or wrong, just intuitively, that takes silence. The imposing of yourself would be the masculine, would be externalizing yourself. Passivity is just staying put and waiting, knowing when the right moment would be to act or not act. I was just reading Slouching Towards Bethlehem, where the kissing never stops. She's talking about Joan Baez, her nonviolence school, and how Joan said that silence is one of the most important things about the school, would be an hour of silence a day. But yeah, it's a type of sublimation. Silence is letting yourself be nothing. This is where it comes to being inhuman, is where you stop exerting yourself at all as a person. Your ego, your thoughts, nothing. That is a feminine practice, but it's also really healthy for us. This leads into another practice, which would be analyzing your dreams, listening to what your dreams are saying to you. That is an ultra-feminine practice to me, because dreams are a form of intuition. Once I stopped self-sabotaging, once I stopped denying myself my intuition, I got some pretty clear, very, very clear signs in my life. And I have a symbols book. I look up anything that could be considered a symbol and see how different cultures interpret it and see what sticks with me and what makes sense with me. And I've had some pretty clear signs in my life when they mattered, for sure. Reoccurring themes in your dreams. I don't know about you, but like I have entire cities in my dreams, and I've been to like multiple different places in my dreams. Have you guys been like that? Like I've been to like a bar in a city. I've been to a house in that same city. I've been to like a railroad station in that city, a highway in that city, but I've also been to other cities like in my dreams. Like there is an actual world like in my head where certain things happen, there's certain feelings and smells, and like I know that they are associated, like certain places are associated with a certain city. It's crazy. But listen to your dreams. It's a form of intuition. It's a knowledge that predates logic, possibly. So write down your dreams. They could be possibly prophetic. You don't know. But you should listen. You should listen to what your dreams are telling you. They can be guiding you. I think it's very feminine to listen to those whispers, to make sense of those symbols. The inhuman part, though, about listening to your dreams is that people might not always believe you whenever you tell them that you actually trust what your dreams have to say. And the inhuman idea is that it's logic that can't be explained to anybody because it's just a feeling. It's just something you have to trust. And a lot of people, this world does not operate on inner trust. It operates on what can be seen and understood immediately. The feminine world is an internal one. And it can make you feel, people can make you, and have made women feel crazy forever for trusting that intuition. It's being extremely in tune with yourself. So that it can make you feel a little inhuman. The last thing that I want to talk about is a bit tricky. But personally, I think an ultra-feminine habit is learning about beauty, the philosophy of beauty. Sometimes though, I can't even tell if beauty is a feminine or masculine thing. There's even a debate about the etymology of beauty, the origin of the word, because it either comes from bellus, which means charming or pretty, or bellum, which means war. So we have the two with the masculine and the feminine forces at work there. But beauty as a concept requires externalization. Beauty is an evolution. It is a transcendence from nothing. I mean, but the experience of beauty is very feminine. That feeling that you get when you witness a beautiful thing or hear a beautiful song, where you lose yourself and you feel separated in that isolation again, where you can just, you stop thinking about yourself and you just exist with this musical piece or this painting. But it's masculine in the sense that the idea had to manifest out of nothingness, and then it is created in the physical world. All of that it's external. It's no longer internal. Beauty isn't something that just like exists. It's not like I don't know if it's part of that primordial ooze. I don't think it is. Its very nature is to flower and soar because we created it. We ourselves, our intelligence is an evolution, is an accretion. Beauty would not be here if we just took things as they were, or if we couldn't see them in the first place. Which places beauty in the masculine? External, active, visual, aesthetic. But learning about beauty has brought me closer to that feeling of communion with things like the unknown, and even the cultivation of senses. Aesthetic pleasure and awareness has been encouraged by all of the love goddesses of the ancient world. Beauty is, however, chiefly female, and the fact that it is often considered virginal or unto itself, the thing in itself, one of one, immutable, untainted, cannot be replaced by anything. All of the aforementioned love goddesses, by the way, were also considered virginal. Beauty is autotelic. It's isolationist, is it not? I mean, despite my confusion on all that, I do not regret mentioning this as an ultra-feminine principle, that like this is something that you should learn as a feminine habit, beauty. Each day I learn more about, and less about mystery and the mystique of the universe, of the world, through beauty. It is this seemingly unknowable thing. You are coming into contact with something that cannot be defined, really. That's why there have been so many books, so many people having conversations back and forth about what beauty is, if it's objective, if it's subjective. It's by nature, it cannot be pinned down. It's so difficult for us to explain it, and that's mystery. That's the unknown. It can't be defined. And it is so interesting in that way that it can't be, because it's visually available to us. We can touch it, we can taste it, we can feel it. It's all right there in front of us. It's visual, yet it's unknown at the same time. Beauty doesn't have to make me feel pretty, just through makeup and hair and dress. It makes me feel close to something that I could never fully grasp. And there's an acceptance and a challenge in that. But beauty to me never feels frightening. It's a lovely feeling. Even if I was all alone in the universe, I still feel loved with beauty. In the experience of beauty. By who or what, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't need a name. Maybe it's about time that I have one of those moments of silence. To just exist. To observe without trying to make anything of it. To be on par with beauty, the unknown, the feminine, by not being anything at all.